I used to think my life was perfect. Ryan and I were the golden couple. College sweethearts turned fiancé and fiancée. Our love was the kind that made people say, "You two were made for each other." Our families were close, too, tied together by both friendship and business. Every holiday, every event, we were side by side, the envy of everyone around us. My best friend Emily was there for all of it, cheering us on. She was like a sister to me, the one person I trusted with everything. But perfection, I've learned, can be a mask for something much darker. The cracks started to show when Emily showed up at my apartment one evening, holding a photo of a little boy. Her hands were trembling, her face pale as she handed it to me. "Who's this?" I asked, staring at the child in the picture. He had dark hair and piercing blue eyes, the same shade as Ryan's. Her voice shook. "That's Noah, my son. And Ryan is his father." I froze, the words hitting me like a slap. "What are you saying? That's impossible. Ryan would never, he wouldn't." Emily cut me off, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't want you to find out like this, but you need to know the truth. Ryan and we've been seeing each other. It started years ago, before you were together, but it didn't stop. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it did." My heart shattered into pieces. "No," I whispered. "No, you're lying." "I'm not," she said, sobbing. "I thought he'd choose me when he found out about Noah, but he didn't. He said you were his future, not me. But you deserve to know, especially now that you're planning a wedding." The rest of her words were a blur. Looking back, there were so many little signs, moments that didn't make sense at the time but now clicked into place like puzzle pieces. Emily and Ryan had crafted their lives so carefully, weaving stories that seemed innocent enough on the surface but were laced with deception. There was that one weekend when Emily claimed she was visiting her aunt in another state. She had shown me pictures of a charming little town, quaint cafes and parks. Ryan, on the other hand, had told me he was heading to a corporate retreat in a secluded location, saying it would be too busy and boring for me to join. I remember asking him why he didn't just stay in the city, and he'd laughed it off, saying, "Sometimes you just need a change of scenery." And then there were the frequent business dinners Ryan would attend. He'd dress impeccably, leaving with his laptop and briefcase, telling me he was meeting clients or negotiating contracts. It wasn't unusual, given his line of work, so I never doubted him. Emily, meanwhile, often had networking events that coincided suspiciously with Ryan's meetings. Once, Emily told me she couldn't come to my birthday dinner because she'd caught a bug and needed to rest. Ryan had excused himself early that same night, saying he had a headache and an early morning meeting. I didn't think much of it at the time. I even dropped soup off at Emily's place the next day to check on her. She thanked me, looking genuinely touched. Now I realized they'd used my kindness to cover their tracks. They hadn't been sick or busy, they'd been together. The signs were there all along, but I had been too blind to see them. I felt like a fool for not noticing the pattern sooner. The days that followed were a nightmare. Rumors spread quickly, and somehow I became the villain in the story, the one who had stolen Ryan from his true love. Friends whispered behind my back, accusing me of standing in the way of a fairy tale romance. I know a lot of the rumor is coming from Emily, but I don't care about that now. I confronted Ryan. I showed him the photo, hoping for an explanation that would make it all untrue. "Emily told me everything," I said, holding up the photo of Noah. "Is this true? Is this your son?" He sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair. "Yes," he said finally, "but it's not as simple as you think. Emily and it's complicated." "It's not complicated," I shouted. "You cheated on me, with my best friend, and now you have a child together. How could you do this to me?" "I never meant to hurt you," he said, his voice low. "Emily and it just happened. But you're the one I chose." His protests only deepened my doubts. "It doesn't mean anything now," he insisted. "I love you. That's all that matters." I laughed bitterly. You chose me? After lying to me for years? After having a child with her? That's not love, Ryan. And his love wasn't enough, not when it was built on lies. I ended the engagement that night, and the fallout was swift and brutal. My brother, who had always been fiercely protective of me, found out and confronted Ryan in person. I wasn't there, but I heard about the fight. Ryan, nursing a bruised jaw, shouted, "Go ahead, hit me all you want. At least now I'm free." "You could have been free," I told him later, "if you'd just told the truth from the beginning." My father, outraged by Ryan's betrayal, withdrew all investments from Ryan's family's company. It was a risky move. Our family stood to lose financially, but my father didn't care. Ryan's parents begged him to reconsider, but he stood firm. "I won't support someone who disrespects my family," he said. At first, I thought it was simply my dad being protective. But later, I learned that one of my brother's friends and a businessman had stepped in with a solution. He had quietly introduced my father to a new business partner, a deal lucrative enough to offset the loss of Ryan's company. Emily got his dream husband, Ryan, and against his parents' will, Ryan took Emily as his wife. However, as the marriage began, it was already weighted with resentment and unfulfilled promises. Ryan's parents refused to bless the union, furious over the fallout of their lost business partnership. Without my family's investments, their company had crumbled, and Ryan's once bright future was now overshadowed by financial instability and tarnished family ties. The cracks in their marriage appeared almost immediately. Ryan's anger simmered beneath the surface, erupting in moments of frustration that left Emily in tears. "You ruined everything," he snapped one night during a heated argument. "Do you even realize what you've done? My parents blame me for losing their company, but the truth is, it's all because of you. If you'd just kept quiet, none of this would have happened." I heard about Ryan blaming Emily for the collapse of his family's business and their strained marriage. I was struck by a mix of emotions: vindication, sadness, and a sense of closure. It felt like the final chapter in a story I had been forced to live through. When I told Liam about it later, he listened quietly before saying, "You're better off without them. They destroyed themselves because they couldn't be honest with you, or with each other." And yes, let me introduce Liam, a handsome young man who is about the same age as my brother, had been a friend of my brother's for years. Though we'd never been especially close, he had always been in the background of my life, polite, kind, and supportive. He started spending more time around me after the breakup, though he never pushed or pried. He was simply there, offering quiet companionship when I needed it most. One evening, after we'd grown closer, Liam decided to tell me everything. "I need to be honest with you," he said, his voice steady but his eyes searching mine. "I knew about Ryan and Emily before you did, and I've been involved in this more than you realize." "What?" I asked, startled. "I didn't want to hurt you," he continued, "but I couldn't stand the thought of you marrying someone who didn't deserve you. So I did some digging. I found out about Noah, about their trips together, about all the lies. I even sent Emily messages, encouraging her to tell you the truth. I told her that if she wanted any chance at a real future, she had to stop living in Ryan's shadow. I told her that Ryan would never truly be hers if he marries you, and Noah will never has his father." "You did all that?" I asked, stunned. "Yes," he admitted. "I wanted the truth to come out because you deserve better. You deserve someone who's honest with you, who'll fight for you, not against you." I laughed then, a light, unexpected sound that bubbled up from somewhere deep inside me. "So you orchestrated my breakup?" He looked sheepish. "Not exactly. But I won't lie, I hoped it would bring us closer." I stared at him, the pieces falling into place. "And the investment? The new business partner for my dad?" "That was me," he said simply. "I knew your family would lose money by cutting ties with Ryan's company, so I stepped in. Your dad didn't even hesitate once he had a better option." I smiled, realizing how much I appreciated his honesty. "Thank you, Liam, for pushing the truth out, for standing by me, even when I didn't know it." He hesitated, then asked, "So, does that mean I have a chance?" I laughed again and reached for his hand. "You already do." As I looked into Liam's eyes, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing the worst is behind you and the best might still be ahead. Sometimes, the truth is painful, but in the end, it sets you free. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I was free to start again. With Liam, I knew I'd be starting something real.